I never thought I'd be sitting in a hospital bed at 62 years old, pressing charges against my own son. But there I was, with 3 broken ribs, a fractured wrist, and a gash above my left eye that took 12 stitches to close. The worst part? The look on Dylan's face when he screamed at me wasn't anger, it was disgust. Pure, entitled disgust. He actually believed I deserved what he did to me for refusing to hand over $85,000 for his wedding and some cryptocurrency scheme I didn't understand. How wrong I was about everything. Let me back up. My name is Edward Mitchell, and I spent 43 years building Mitchell's Auto Repair from nothing into something I could be proud of. It wasn't a chain, wasn't fancy, but it was honest work. My late wife, Caroline, she passed 7 years ago from cancer, left me with $230,000 in life insurance, every penny meant for emergencies or retirement. I promised her on her deathbed I'd be smart with it, that I wouldn't let anyone take advantage of me in my old age. I should have listened better. Dylan, he's 29 now, smart kid, always was, got through community college, worked some tech jobs here and there, never seemed to stick with anything, always had the next big idea. The next opportunity. About 2 years ago, he met Vanessa at some networking event. She's an influencer, or wants to be. 26 years old, blonde hair extensions that must cost more than my monthly grocery bill, and a smile that never quite reaches her eyes. From the moment Dylan brought her to my shop to meet me, I felt something off. The way she looked around, calculating, sizing things up. But Dylan, he was in love. Head over heels. Started dressing different, talking different. Suddenly my son, who wore jeans and hoodies, was showing up in designer sneakers he couldn't afford and talking about personal branding. 6 months ago, they got engaged. Dylan brought her to my house, grinning like he'd won the lottery. I was happy for him, I really was. I hugged them both, congratulated them. Then came the conversation I should have seen coming. "Dad, we need to talk about the wedding," Dylan said, sitting at my kitchen table where I'd fed him breakfast for 18 years. I poured coffee, sat down. "Sure, son. What are you thinking? Something simple? I could contribute a few thousand, help you get started." Vanessa's smile tightened. Dylan glanced at her, then back at me. "Actually, Dad, we were hoping for more than that. Vanessa's parents are putting in 40,000, and we were hoping you could match that, plus a little extra." "Extra?" I set my cup down carefully. "We need about 85,000 total from your side," Dylan said, like he was ordering a pizza, not asking for my life savings. 40 for the wedding venue, photographer, catering, the whole thing, and 45 for an investment opportunity I can't pass up. I stared at him. "Dylan, that's an enormous amount of money." "Dad, you have it." He leaned forward, earnest now. "I know you do. Mom's life insurance, you've barely touched it in 7 years. My chest tightened. "That money is for emergencies. For my future. Your mother wanted—" "Mom would want me to be happy," Dylan cut me off, sharp. "She'd want me to have the wedding of my dreams, to build a future with my wife." "I'm sure she would want that," I said carefully. "But she'd also want you to build it yourself. I can help with 5,000, maybe stretch to 7. But 85? Are you serious right now?" Vanessa spoke up for the first time, her voice cold. "Dylan has told me so much about how his father always supports him, always has his back. This doesn't sound like support." "Vanessa, I appreciate that you and Dylan are planning a life together." I kept my voice level. "But expecting someone else to fund it entirely isn't reasonable. What about your parents? If they're contributing 40,000, why can't Dylan ask them for more?" "My parents are already stretching themselves thin," she snapped. "They're doing their part. You're his father. Don't you want your son to start his marriage right? To have the ceremony we deserve?" "The ceremony you deserve is the one you can afford," I said, feeling the words come out harsher than I meant. "I worked 3 jobs when I married your mother, Dylan. We had 37 people at our wedding in her sister's backyard. We were happy." "That's exactly the problem." Dylan stood up, pushing his chair back hard. "You're stuck in the past. Things are different now. Vanessa and we're building a brand together. This wedding needs to make a statement. And the cryptocurrency investment, Dad. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. My buddy Jason has inside information." "Stop." I held up my hand. "If it sounds too good to be true—" "It's crypto, Dad. It's the future. I could turn 45,000 into $500,000 in 6 months. Or you could lose it all," I said quietly. "Dylan, I love you. I'll help how I can. But I can't give you $85,000. He stared at me like I'd slapped him. Vanessa stood too, grabbing her designer purse. Come on, Dylan. We clearly can't count on your father. My parents understand family loyalty. They left. No goodbye, no thank you for offering what I could. Just gone. The texts started that night. First from Dylan, asking me to reconsider, to think about his future. Then they got more insistent, more accusatory. I tried to explain again, offered to help them budget, suggested a smaller wedding, a longer engagement to save up. Each message back was colder. Then Vanessa started texting me directly. Long paragraphs about how disappointed she was, how Dylan deserved better, how I was sabotaging their happiness. I stopped responding after a while. What could I say? 2 weeks later, Dylan showed up at my shop. It was a Tuesday afternoon, slow day. He walked in without knocking on my office door, and I could tell immediately something was different. His jaw was tight, his eyes hard. We need to talk. Of course. I gestured to the chair across from my desk. How are you? How am I? He laughed, bitter. I'm stressed, Dad. Stressed because my wedding is in 4 months, and I can't afford it because my own father won't help me. Dylan, we've been through this. No, you've been through this. He leaned forward, aggressive. You've decided that the money Mom left, money that should have been for her family, for me, is just yours to hoard. That's not fair. Your mother wanted me to be secure. She wanted you to take care of me. He was shouting now. A couple of my mechanics glanced toward the office. I'm her son. That money should be mine. You're 29 years old, I said, trying to stay calm even though my heart was racing. You have a job, you're healthy, you're capable. The money is for if I get sick, if I lose the business. If what? If you need it someday? I need it now. He slammed his hand on my desk and I flinched. This wasn't my son. This was someone I didn't recognize. I'm asking you to leave, I said quietly. We can talk when you've calmed down. I'll calm down when you write me a check. Dylan, please. You know what? Forget it. He stormed toward the door, then turned back. You're going to regret this. When Vanessa and I are successful, when we're living the life we deserve, don't come crawling to us. He left. I sat there shaking. The next month was worse. Dylan and Vanessa started a social media campaign, though they never mentioned me by name. Vague posts about unsupportive family members, about older generations hoarding wealth while young people suffered. Vanessa did a whole Instagram story about how wedding venues were so expensive and how unfair it was that parents didn't want to help their children anymore. I ignored it. Tried to, anyway. But people talk. Customers who followed Vanessa started giving me weird looks. One regular asked if I was the father who wouldn't pay for his son's wedding. Small town. Word spreads. Then things escalated. Dylan started showing up at my house uninvited. 3 times in 1 week, knocking on my door at odd hours. Once at 6 in the morning, once at 11 at night, each time demanding we talk about the money. I stopped answering. Installed a Ring doorbell camera after he stood on my porch for 20 minutes, shouting about what a selfish, cheap father I was. The footage from that camera would save my life later. On a Thursday in late September, I came home from the shop to find Dylan's car in my driveway. He was sitting on my porch steps, and for a moment, I hoped maybe he'd come to apologize, to actually talk. I was so tired of fighting with my own son. Dylan. I approached cautiously. What's going on? I need to show you something. He stood up, pulled out his phone. I've been doing research, Dad, about that money. Mom's life insurance. Did you know that legally, as her next of kin, I might have a claim to that? My blood went cold. Dylan, that's not how it works. Your mother left it to me. It's in my account. But it was for both of us, wasn't it? For the family? His eyes had this wild look. I talked to a lawyer. You talked to a lawyer about suing me? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I'm trying to avoid that, he was shouting again. Just give me the money, Dad. Give me what I'm owed. You're not owed anything, I said. And I meant it. I raised you, fed you, put you through school. I've helped you your whole life. But I don't owe you my retirement savings for a wedding you can't afford, and an investment scheme that sounds like a scam. Wrong thing to say. His face went red. It's not a scam. You don't know anything about crypto, you dinosaur. You're just scared of anything new, anything that might actually make real money. That's why you're still running a broke-down auto shop instead of being successful. Get off my property, I said, voice shaking. Now. Or what? You'll call the cops on your own son? He stepped toward me, close enough that I could smell alcohol on his breath. How had I missed that? Over money you're too selfish to share? Money that should have been mine when Mom died? Your mother left it to me because she trusted me to use it wisely. This conversation is over. I moved to step around him, to get to my door. He grabbed my arm. Hard. Let go of me, Dylan. Not until you listen, he was screaming now. You're going to write me a check. Tonight, $85,000. Or I swear to God. You'll what? I yanked my arm free. You'll hit me? Threaten me? This is insane. What's insane is you keeping money from your own son. He shoved me, and I stumbled back into my porch railing. You're pathetic. A pathetic old man hoarding money while I'm trying to build a life. I'm calling the police. I pulled out my phone. That's when everything went dark. I woke up on my porch floor. Everything hurt. My face felt wet, and when I touched it, my hand came away bloody. Dylan was standing over me, breathing hard, his fists still clenched. Dad, He looked shocked at himself, at what he'd done. I tried to sit up. Pain exploded in my ribs, and I cried out. He'd hit me, multiple times from the feel of it. My own son had beaten me on my own porch. You need to leave, I managed to say through the pain. Now. Dad, I didn't mean. Leave, I shouted, and it hurt like hell. Get out! You're not my son anymore. You're not. He ran, just turned and ran to his car, peeled out of my driveway like the devil was chasing him. I called 911, told them I'd been assaulted, gave them my son's name, the hardest words I'd ever spoken. At the hospital, they told me I had 3 broken ribs, a fractured wrist where I'd tried to defend myself, and that gash above my eye. Minor concussion, heavy bruising across my face and torso. The doctor, a woman about Dylan's age, looked at me with such sadness. Your son did this? I nodded, couldn't speak. I'm so sorry. The police came. Took my statement. I showed them the Ring doorbell footage. Even though the assault happened on the side of the porch, you could hear everything. Dylan's threats. The sounds of him hitting me. My cries. It was damning. They arrested him that night. Brought him in on assault charges, domestic violence, terrorist threats. His bail was set at $50,000. Vanessa called me the next day, screaming. How dare I have her fiancé arrested? He was stressed. He didn't mean it. I was tearing their family apart. I hung up on her. But here's where things got really interesting. 3 days after Dylan's arrest, a detective named Sarah Campos came to see me at home. I was recovering, moving slow, but I could talk. Mr. Mitchell, we need to discuss something that came up in the investigation. She sat in my living room, professional but kind. When we searched your son's apartment after the arrest, we found some concerning documents. What kind of documents? Financial records, loan applications, and communications with several elderly individuals that suggest your son may have been involved in financial fraud. I felt sick. What are you talking about? Detective Campos opened her folder. Your son has been contacting seniors through online cryptocurrency investment groups. He poses as a financial advisor, promises huge returns, gets them to wire money to various accounts. We've identified at least 6 victims so far. Total losses, over $200,000. No. I shook my head, even though it hurt. No, Dylan wouldn't. He wanted money for his wedding, for an investment for himself. He wouldn't. Mr. Mitchell, I'm sorry, but the evidence is clear. We have text messages, emails, bank records. Your son has been running this scam for at least 8 months. One of his victims lost her entire life savings. 93 years old, lost everything. I couldn't breathe. My son, my boy. How had this happened? There's more, the detective continued gently. We believe Dylan was planning to defraud you as well. We found forged documents in his apartment with your signature, attempting to access your bank accounts. He'd been working with someone at your bank, a teller named Marcus Webb, who was feeding him information about your accounts. Marcus? I knew him. Young guy, always friendly. He was helping Dylan steal from me? We arrested him this morning. He confessed that Dylan paid him $3,000 for access to your account details, and they were planning to drain your accounts using the forged authorization documents. They were waiting for the right moment. I sat there trying to process it all. My son wasn't just entitled and angry. He was a criminal, had been for months, and I'd never seen it. The cryptocurrency investment he kept talking about, Detective Campos said. We don't believe it was real. We think he was using that story as a cover. The money he wanted from you was likely going to be used to pay back some of his other victims who were getting suspicious, or to fund his wedding while continuing the scam. Vanessa. I looked up. His fiancée. Does she know? We're investigating her involvement now. Several of the fake social media accounts your son used to lure victims were created on devices registered to her. We believe she may have been an active participant. Over the next 2 months, the whole thing unraveled. Dylan was charged with elder fraud, identity theft, assault, and a dozen other counts. Marcus, the bank teller, cut a deal and testified against him. They found more victims, 14 in total. The oldest was 96. The youngest was 62, my age. All of them trusted Dylan, believed his promises of financial security through cryptocurrency investments. Vanessa was arrested too. Turned out she'd been running similar scams before she met Dylan. They'd found each other online, 2 predators teaming up. The influencer persona was fake, bought followers and staged luxury photos. Everything about her was a lie. The trial was 3 weeks ago. I sat in that courtroom and watched my son, the boy I'd raised, taught to fix cars, taken fishing, loved with everything I had, sit there emotionless as victim after victim testified about how he'd destroyed their lives. A woman named Dorothy cried as she explained how she'd given Dylan $38,000, her late husband's pension, because Dylan had promised to triple it in 6 months. She was now living with her daughter, her independence gone. When it was my turn to testify, I looked at Dylan, tried to find my son in his eyes. He wouldn't meet my gaze. I told the jury everything, the demands for money, the escalating aggression, the assault. I showed them the hospital photos, the Ring doorbell footage. When they played the audio of him beating me, I heard people in the courtroom gasp. The prosecutor asked me one final question. Mr. Mitchell, after everything your son put you through, do you believe he deserves leniency? I took a long breath, thought about Caroline, about the promises I'd made her, about the boy Dylan used to be. No, I said quietly. I believe he deserves to face the consequences of his choices. What he did to me, to those elderly people who trusted him, that wasn't a mistake. It was calculated. It was cruel. And if leniency means letting him hurt someone else's parent, someone else's grandmother, then no, he doesn't deserve it. Dylan was convicted on all counts. The judge sentenced him to 7 years in federal prison for the fraud charges, plus 3 more years for the assault. 10 years total. Vanessa got 6 years. Marcus got 3 years probation and lost his banking license. 2 days ago, I received a letter from Dylan. I almost didn't open it, but I did. It was 1 page. He wrote that he was sorry, that he'd gotten caught up in something he couldn't control, that Vanessa had influenced him. He wrote that he hoped someday I could forgive him. What he didn't write was that he understood what he'd done. He didn't take responsibility. It was still everyone else's fault. I wrote back. 1 time, 1 letter. I told him the truth. Dylan, I loved you from the moment you were born. Your mother and I gave you everything we could. We taught you right from wrong. But somewhere along the way, you decided that you were owed more than you earned. You decided that taking from people weaker than you was acceptable if it got you what you wanted. You hurt me, but worse, you hurt people who couldn't defend themselves. Elderly people who trusted you. That's not who I raised. The son I loved died the day he chose greed over integrity. I hope you find redemption someday. I hope you become someone your mother could have been proud of. But I can't be part of that journey. This is goodbye. I haven't heard back. I don't expect to. People ask me if I regret not giving him the money, if things might have been different. The truth is, no amount of money would have been enough. The problem was never the $85,000. The problem was that Dylan believed he deserved it, that the world owed him something just for existing. I'm doing okay now. The ribs healed. Started therapy, working through the trauma of being attacked by your own child. That's not something you just get over. I still run the shop. Still save the money Caroline left me. Thinking about maybe setting up a fund to help victims of financial fraud, people like Dorothy who lost everything. And I installed better security cameras. Everywhere. Just in case. Because I learned something these past months. Love doesn't mean unlimited forgiveness. It doesn't mean sacrificing yourself for someone who will only hurt you more. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone face the consequences of their choices. even when that someone is your son. My name is Edward Mitchell. My son destroyed his life for money I wouldn't give him, and I'd make the same choice again, every single time. Because some debts aren't meant to be paid, some boundaries aren't meant to be crossed, and some people, even your own children, have to learn that the hard way.